What's up everybody? I hope you're doing well. I'm super excited for today's video because it's a completely new format, at least to me, and I think it's gonna be super fun. I'll be honest, one of the reasons why I make YouTube videos is because I consume quite a bit of YouTube videos, and one format of video that I just love watching is reaction videos. And I especially love it when somebody who's an expert in a certain field or who works in a certain profession reacts to that profession represented in fictional media like TV and movies. So I thought it'd be super fun to react as a psychologist to therapists represented in the media. So to kick things off, I put a poll out on Instagram and asked you all if you had any favorite therapists in the media that you wanted me to react to in a video. And I was so excited when a number of you mentioned the therapist in the Netflix series Never Have I Ever. Now, I'm really not much of a TV watcher in general, but somehow over the summer I discovered Never Have I Ever on my Netflix recommendations, and I got sucked in. I watched the whole first season within a few days. So if you'd like to see a psychologist react to the therapist from Never Have I Ever, then keep watching this video. Welcome to Private Practice Skills. I'm Dr. Marie Fang, psychologist in private practice. I post videos offering tools I learned the hard way about starting and growing private practice so that you don't have to. Now, if you haven't seen the show before, I'm not going to give away any major spoilers, but as just a little bit of backstory to set the stage, it's all about this teenage girl named Devi whose father passed away while she was in high school and her process and how she's dealing with her grief. So it first manifested as her being paralyzed and essentially being wheelchair bound for a significant period of time. And then season 1 starts with her no longer being wheelchair bound, but she's still finding ways to deflect her grief. Let's put it that way. And so naturally, there's a therapist to help her along the way. And enter Niecy Nash, who plays the role of Dr. Jamie Ryan, Devi's therapist. So let's hop in and see how Dr. Ryan does helping Devi deal with her grief. Okay, so Dr. Ryan makes her first appearance around the middle of the first episode after Devi has been called a pretty terrible name by her school rival. Let's see how she handles it.
So you agree with Ben Gross and the whole school and think I'm a disgusting troll?
Hey, I am not going to tell you I think you're sexy. I will tell you that kid sucks and you should ignore him.
Okay, this is not therapy, but it is hilarious, so it's fun to watch.
Dr. Ryan, you know how much trouble I have taking the high road.
I do. Why don't you sit down? So, you're back up on your feet. That's gotta feel good.
Okay, that would be incredibly unhelpful to say in a real life therapy session, to take somebody's really challenging and traumatic situation and try to remind them of all the good things going on, rather than validating how hard things are right now.
They all think I was faking being paralyzed. Why would I fake that? Because it's such a cool look to have your cousin help you onto the toilet?
Listen, I think I've got something that could really help you.
Paxil? Lexapro? Xanax? Zoloft? I'll try anything.
Whoa.
Davy's character is hilarious.
Knock it off, wannabe pill popper. It's a grief journal. Sometimes the pain we feel is too hard to say out loud. This way, you don't actually have to say it.
And if this doesn't work, you could always prescribe me some Klonopin.
Well, okay, have I prescribed grief journals before? Absolutely. I would preface it quite a bit and sort of check in to see if this is something that they would find helpful. And if it's something that they agreed to, you would give way more instruction than just like, here's a blank notebook, it's a grief journal, it might help you. What? Okay, this next bit that we're gonna watch, Devi has an emotional outburst, let's call it, where she throws a book through the window and there's an altercation with her mom, and here's what happens.
The bird must have done it.
Devi, you're lying to your mother? And then bringing shame on an innocent bird? Just leave me alone!
Devi, I feel like she could use a hug.
Dr. Ryan?
Babe.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Do you see how calmly Dr. Ryan just... Okay, this moment is really high up there on worst nightmares. Can you imagine off hours when it's not your client's scheduled appointment time that they run bursting through your door? I mean, yeah, you might just be standing there getting ready to leave, but you might be meeting with a client, or you might have your door closed and, you know, whatever, taking a nap, I don't know, writing notes, whatever it is that you do in your office with your door closed. I mean, this is such a nightmare. And then to see Dr. Ryan just like, hey, what are you doing here? There's no way. I mean, as much as, you know, therapists, we try to like keep it together. I mean, at least for me, I know I would like kind of flip out, at least be surprised, like who's breaking into my office right now. So, kudos to you, Dr. Ryan, for holding it together.
We don't have an appointment.
I know, but I need your help. Wait, why do you look hot? Do you have a date?
Yes, I do. And don't look so shocked. I do have a life outside of being your therapist.
Those moments where maybe not in this context, but you run into a client like at the grocery store, or wherever you are outside of the office, and they're like, wait, you're a real person who does normal things? And then they kind of like don't know what to do with that. I love it when that happens. It's kind of awkward, but it's okay.
What's going on?
Eleanor has a secret boyfriend that her and Fabiola have been keeping from me because they thought I was unhinged and would have a nervous breakdown.
Which it seems like you are.
Yeah, I'm losing it, Doc.
Talk to me. How does their lie make you feel?
Okay, now this is actually an appropriate therapist response to ask how something makes you feel. But if this situation happened to me where my client literally broke in during off hours, there's no way I would respond in therapist mode. I would respond in boundaried mode. Maybe I'd offer them some crisis resources, remind them of what resources they have access to that they can turn to for help, and that I am happy to see them during their scheduled appointment time. If I start diving into therapist mode, then you're just reinforcing the behavior. The next time she has a moment like this, she's going to come running and barging into my office, and I do not want to reinforce that behavior.
Trust me. But after all you've been through, maybe you shouldn't be so focused on having a boyfriend. I mean, do you really think you make a good girlfriend right now?
Probably not.
Okay, as reasonable and rational as Devi's response is here to her therapist, those of us who are therapists know that when a client reaches that point of trigger, that they're throwing a book through the window and willing to run across town during off hours, somewhat recklessly in the middle of the street, they're at a level of trigger that they're not going to simply calm down immediately with a few comforting words. I mean, at this point, her sympathetic nervous system is so off the charts, like, it's going to take a while for her to calm down. Just physiologically, it's not possible to calm down so quickly. But kudos to Devi, her character somehow figured it out, and her therapist had the magical right words for her, apparently. Okay, so now Dr. Ryan's next appearance is in episode 2, and Devi had this amazing dream where basically her fantasy came true and she got to be intimate with her high school crush, and enter Dr. Ryan to help her talk through this.
And the whole time, Paxton kept complimenting me and telling me how much he respected me and stuff. What do you think that means?
Davy, the reason I was enlisted by your doctors and your mother is to delve into some of the major events that have happened in your life over this last year. Now, we've been seeing each other for months, and you still don't want to talk about your father.
What's there to talk about? He's dead. It made me sad. Now I want to talk about a major event that could happen this week. Popping my cherry, Doc.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, obviously this is written to be funny rather than accurate therapy, but especially when we work with teens, we know that whatever the content is that they're bringing up right now, even if it's so clearly a distraction from whatever's really going on, like Devi grieving her father, we still work with the content that's coming up right now. That is the work. And if nothing more, if Dr. Ryan could help Devi with the problem that she's naming as the issue rather than the problem that the doctor sees as the issue, then at the very least she could build trust with Devi, which at this point doesn't seem to have really formed yet. Okay, we're skipping ahead to episode 3, where Dr. Ryan makes her next appearance.
What matters is that life is good now, and I can basically forget about all that bad stuff that happened before.
Well, forgetting is not the goal. We're trying to process all that's happened to you, especially losing your father.
I am processing. In fact, I talked to my dad the other night.
Okay, you used the grief journal.
No.
Okay, we're gonna notice a pattern here where Dr. Ryan starts using leading questions. So she says, oh, okay, you used the grief journal. She makes an assumption. She's gonna ask more leading questions like this as though she knows the answer before she asks it, which we all know from like Therapy 101, we just don't do that as therapists.
He came to me as a coyote.
Excuse me?
Are you gonna be weird about this? Because if you are, I'm not gonna talk about it.
You know, this is a safe space. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the other night, there was a coyote in my backyard, and it was legit my dad. He was in my dad's garden, picked up my dad's tennis ball, plus his eyes. It was just him.
That is a beautiful thing. And going forward, you might see your dad as a butterfly or a bird or a gentle breeze or...
No, Dr. Ryan, I didn't see him metaphorically with my heart or some shit. My eyes saw my father's soul in the body of a coyote.
Okay, I love how they depicted this, where there is this moment where Dr. Ryan is winning over Devi's trust, where Devi tells this, what sounds like a maybe ridiculous story, and Dr. Ryan's able to say, oh, it's so beautiful, and then she goes back in with the assumptions. You might see your dad as this or that or the other thing, and they show it on Devi's face. Immediately, she's like, you don't get it, which is completely how anyone would react in that moment. That was a therapeutic opportunity just completely missed, right? That could have been an opportunity for Dr. Ryan to say, wow, what a special moment. Tell me what that meant for you. What was that like for you? What did your dad say? Just invite information about that experience, because finally Devi is opening up about her grief. And unfortunately, the therapist, I think, kind of missed the moment. So interestingly, we don't see Dr. Ryan again for several more episodes, and her next appearance is in episode 8. Where now, without spoiling the show, Devi has wreaked havoc on her entire life, and her friends are super upset with her because she's been a pretty bad friend. So let's see what happens with Dr. Ryan.
I find it a little hard to believe that losing both your best friends isn't bothering you at all.
Well, believe it, because I give 0 Fs.
I think you give many Fs. If that were me, I'd be scared to lose 2 more people that were that close to me.
You're bringing it back to my dad, aren't you?
I am. I'd be a bad therapist if I didn't.
No, you wouldn't. You don't always have to bring it back to the named presenting issue. Dr. Ryan is utilizing what I like to refer to as mom therapy, which is not a real therapeutic strategy, but I feel like it's just an easy go-to. Like if you don't know what's helpful in the moment, to just kind of act like a mom and say the thing that sort of quote unquote sounds helpful, but usually ends up bringing up defensiveness, which we're seeing here again. Like the therapist kind of forcing, like, we need to keep talking about this thing that's important. It's probably not helpful to Devi here.
Devi, listen. You were so traumatized by your dad's death, you lost the use of your legs for 3 months.
Yeah, I know. What does that have to do with anything?
This thing with your friends? Baby girl, that's your grief.
So my dad dies and suddenly my friends are bitches?
Devi, you are so desperate to not feel sad, you've made your whole world about this boy.
I'm a teenager. My whole world is about boys.
That's a very fair point. So we're seeing more mom therapist tactics here where, Dr. Ryan is saying something that sounds helpful, but when you have the training of a therapist, it's just gonna elicit more defensiveness from your client, which is exactly what's happening. And honestly, she's really breaking her trust with her client here. Oh, let's see what happens.
So you're saying I should get over my sadness by getting really sad? Why would I do that? So I can be miserable and realize the person I love the most is never, ever coming back?
Yes, because I think that would help you heal.
Well, I think I should get a different therapist.
And I think you might be right.
No!
What?
I want the best for you. You know that. But maybe you would benefit from a different approach.
Are you serious? You're breaking up with me too?
Oh, this is not a breakup.
You know what?
It is.
This is perfect. I've always hated coming here, so peace out. See you never.
That's so heartbreaking. Did you not see that coming from like a mile away though? Of here the therapist just keeps pushing her agenda over and over again. Devi doesn't feel heard, doesn't feel cared for, and she really needs someone to care for her right now because she feels like she's losing everybody. What really ideally could have happened then instead is if Dr. Ryan could have come alongside Devi, right, and said like, wow, this really feels like it's not working for you. Can you tell me about that? And what were you hoping therapy might be like? And how is this comparing to that? So in this season 1 of Never Have I Ever, we only get to see Dr. Ryan one more time. And the assumption is that Devi legitimately quit therapy after that session. And so the last time we see Dr. Ryan, she's talking to Devi's mom. So let's see what happens.
What's the point of all the ceramics in here?
Just to make the place seem homier, make my patients feel a little more comfortable.
Strange.
I feel like this kind of comment is so common from somebody who's kind of questioning the whole therapeutic field in general, but she's just evaluating this therapist and kind of commenting on anything that she can that just feels weird to her because she feels weird about therapy.
So, I am glad you came in today. I mean, I didn't think you were someone who believed in therapy.
I don't. It's for white people. I mean, clearly there's some exceptions.
I am not quite sure what to make of that, so I'm gonna ignore it. How are you handling your grief?
Oh, you know what? I am not falling for this one. I'm here to talk about my daughter who wishes I were dead.
I don't think that's true.
That is true. She said, quote, "I wish you were the one who had died." And that she didn't think I liked her.
Why do you think Devi feels that way?
Because I'm tough on her. I am. I know that. But it's only because I am scared. All the time. When she couldn't walk,
You don't always have to be so strong. I mean, it might help her to know that you're also struggling.
Come on. What good would that do? Huh?
Have you considered that falling apart might actually be the thing that brings your family back together?
I love this scene because this is about as close to real life as we can get in a sort of truncated, idealized form of what the therapy process really looks like. I mean, we have mom who's really defensive at first, and then the therapist builds trust and breaks down the walls little by little. I mean, this happened really quickly in the matter of like seconds, and in real life, of course, it usually would take a lot longer than that to break down those walls, but it's really lovely to see the therapist see what mom's needs are and name them for her, challenge her just enough without creating a defensive environment. So good job, writers of the show. I love that scene.
These ceramics are quite comforting.
For white people, too.
Well, those are all of Dr. Ryan's scenes in season 1 of Never Have I Ever. I think Dr. Ryan was so well cast. Casting her in this therapist character role allowed her to let the comedy come through to make, good TV without it being so comedic that it stigmatizes therapy. Was she delivering genuine, authentic therapeutic skills? No, not really, except for that very last scene with Devi's mom, I think was really lovely. All of that said, when we're watching a therapist in a TV show, we're not usually expecting it to look like real actual therapy. We just want it to be believable enough, yet still entertaining. And I think this show really delivered that with Dr. Jamie Ryan as the child psychologist. If you like this video, let me know in the comments what other therapists and media you'd like me to react to, and I hope I'll get to see you again in one of these. And before signing off, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. For all you fellow therapists out there, as you manage your practices, it's super helpful to have a comprehensive practice management tool to help you stay on top of all of your tasks. Therapy Notes helps with scheduling, notes, and billing, and they have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform. And if you're interested, you can get 2 months to try Therapy Notes for free just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, I hope you had fun coming on this adventure with me. I hope to see you again sometime, and until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well. Oops, where did I put this thing? Oh dear, oh dear.